the right wing is apparently using influencers on platforms like TikTok and Instagram to promote debunked gay conversion therapy. Now, this is the long discredited ex-gay movement, which first surfaced in the 1970s and peaked in the 1990s, only to end in around the early 2000s, has been undergoing a bit of a rebrand thanks to young digital influencers like Samuel A. Perez, a self-described former gay stripper, now child of God. Press X to doubt, okay? I'm just saying. One of his most popular clips with more than 1.2 million views is captioned, "When I used to be gay, but discovered Jesus is better than my sexuality." Okay, for one, you're still gay. You're just now religious, okay? Even if you don't want to admit it, you're still gay, okay? This whole idea of pray away the gay is just, it's BS. It's not new, right? It's been around for quite some time, and it never works. I mean, Perez is just one of the many so-called ex-gay influencers on TikTok and Instagram. Others include Rashad Verme, Richard Matthews, who are all building social media followings, of course, on the back of content that purports to show that it's possible to overcome same-sex attraction. I gotta say it.
Bullshit.
No way. A gay person can't become straight as much as someone like myself, a cis straight man, can become gay. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The best thing that you can do, at least from their perspective, is to pretend to be something that you're not until you are completely empty inside and end up adopting a wide stance in the CPAC bathroom. Just saying. That's what happens. There's a reason Grindr experiences outages every time the Republican Party comes to town. Despite the fact that Republicans are anti-LGBTQ, doesn't matter.
Sexual anarchy.
Plenty of it there. Now, getting back to these people, right? Who apparently are using merch drops and memes to promote conversion therapy, which is literal torture. Okay, conversion therapy uses a method of aversion therapy, which is described as a repetitious treatment where the person is exposed to unpleasant stimuli multiple times when they do that behavior, wherein then the unwanted behavior ceases. Okay. Now, what kind of unpleasant stimuli? Well, this can range to taking a concoction or whatever that'll make you throw up, or electroshock therapy. Yeah. So, I mean, that's torture. Okay. Not only that, but multiple studies have indicated that children who undergo these so-called treatments are actually end up at a higher risk of suicide, attempted suicide, depression, self-injury, substance abuse, and have difficulty forming interpersonal relationships as adults. And not only that, but it's not worth it because it doesn't work. So it's harmful and it doesn't work. And yet it's all over TikTok and Instagram? How did that happen? I mean, apparently the algorithm likes to push it. Now, Kansas City-based Andrew Hartzler, who was forced by his family to undergo conversion therapy when he came out at the age of 14, says he regularly sees conversion therapy content on different social media platforms. He says he tries to get it taken down, but has had little success, despite the fact that it's literally against their own terms of service. Yes, that's right. Oh, these companies, these social media companies, not enforcing or selectively enforcing your terms of service? Oh, could have never thought of that. Except that it happens literally all the time. So, unfortunately, that's the reality here. In fact, he explains, I would say around 80 to 90% of the conversion therapy content I report on any of the platforms, I get a response back saying, we didn't find this in violation of our community guidelines. It makes me feel really frustrated. For the parents that are determined to change their child, there are scary resources out there. Now TikTok has just been added to that arsenal of weapons that parents can use to try to change their children. Wow. Yeah. Others like Curtis Lopez Galloway, founder of the West Hollywood-based conversion therapy Dropout Network, adds, by doing this on social media, they're pushing false narratives and harmful misinformation, which again should be against the TOSs of all of these social media platforms. And yet, oh, would you look at that? don't get removed. They don't get removed. When I do see them, I report them as misinformation. I can see that content all day long until my eyes start going red because it doesn't bother me. But it is a problem for some of the kids, some of the people that we have in our network, where they see this kind of stuff and it's re-triggering and traumatizing to them. Where the issue lies with these platforms is that they're not policing this content enough. It's the same exact thing, only much more intense. Now it's constant in their face as they scroll, and they're being fed that information as it comes through. So that's one of the big problems with the social media algorithm and how it just pushes this right-wing content, this reactionary content. And of course, when you have something that pushes that kind of reactionary content, well, or when you have an algorithm that does so, of course you're going to have people jump on that algorithm to make money, to get famous. That's what's going on. I mean, here he continues by saying, I think we're really starting to see the effect that it's having on younger generations. It's really scary to see. 100%. So here's what I think is happening. And look, I don't have any evidence of it yet, okay? But you have the right wing who might be funding influencers to put out this kind of content. Not to convert people, per se. And maybe that's like part of it. But really, I think it's sort of a way to back up, confirmation bias, okay? Say like a boomer or Gen X homophobe, and I'm not saying they all are, all right? I'm just an example, right? Because there's millennial homophobes, there's Gen Z homophobes, whatever. It doesn't matter, the generation, but for an example, you got like a boomer who's all like, back in my day, we didn't have the gay. Yeah, you did. Yeah, of course you did. You did. You just didn't know it. Because it couldn't come out because you might punch him in the face. I'm glad we're past those days. But no, you guys want to bring it back. But anyway, so this guy, this boomer or whatever, takes this TikTok video and says, oh, well, you see, look, this person got over being gay through Jesus. No, that's not what happens. That's not the reality at all. One of the founders of a big organization that promoted conversion therapy, even he was like, yeah, it doesn't work. I'm gay. All right, well, there it is. So he spent, I think, decades pushing it. And then finally he's like, no, turns out I was gay the whole time. Yeah, and I was just lying to myself. Who knew? So, but anyway, look, I don't mean to make light of this because it is a very serious issue. I mean, people who've gone through this conversion therapy, getting back to how it is, considered literal torture, it has massively terrible effects. In fact, one who went through it as a teenager said, quote, I feel conflicted and confused. I'm still not comfortable or happy in my sexuality. I don't even feel comfortable defining my sexuality, not in a progressive way, but because I don't know what or who to believe anymore. So this is somebody who's been wrecked by this conversion therapy, that makes them question, like, I don't know, some days I feel okay, and other days I feel like I'm the worst person in the world because of who I am, and oh dear God, maybe if I just prayed a little bit harder, I'd be a better person. No, you're fine the way that you are. I mean, you were fine the way that you are before this conversion therapy got into your head. That's the harm that this can do, and yet you have these social media platforms that are just promoting it through the algorithm, even though it's against their own terms of service. This person on Instagram, even only after engaging with one video on the platform from Perez, is now regularly served anti-gay and anti-gay teaching and ex-gay talks. Constantly. And now the algorithm is supposed to send you stuff that you want to see, right? You interact with it once, whether it be positive or negative, suddenly all over. Like, for an example, the other day, I think it was last week, I made fun of Don Jr. and I used one of his TikTok videos. Now, I'm constantly being sent videos from Don Jr. I don't want to see that. Like, I don't care. But the algorithm thinks, oh, you watched one Don Jr. video, so we're just going to flood you with Don Jr. Like, no, that's the last thing I want to see. And of course, you know, there are other people that lefty content creators on TikTok that, you know, I can interact with. I don't get sent constant reminders or constant videos from them. So it kind of makes you think that there's a, you know, the right wing at play here and their outsized influence on all these different platforms. To say that these platforms, that's all the lefties. There's a bias against conservatives on these platforms. No, it's completely opposite. On YouTube, I did a study. I talked about a study several weeks ago. I think it was probably last month, where you had these accounts that had not interacted with anything, brand new accounts, and they were just constantly served right-wing content. And you know, these were accounts that did not go and seek out right-wing content. Nonetheless, right-wing content shoveled into their feed. That's the algorithm. And that's one of the big problems what you have with social media these days, and how the right wing, despite screaming about how they're biased against us, are actually the ones that have rigged the scale, rigged the game when it comes to algorithms against the left and everyone else. And so, and by the way, you know, this should be removed. It's against our own terms of service, and yet these videos are allowed to proliferate and to continue. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.